St. John Paul II, Pope John Paul, spoke about this dramatic historical reversal that we see in the salvation won for us in Christ in his wonderful work on human suffering, which is titled Salvifici Doloris. And this is the way he puts it. Christ does not explain in the abstract the reasons for suffering, but before else he says, "Follow me, come, take part through your suffering in this work of saving the world, a salvation achieved through my suffering, through my cross." What he is describing here is that the cross is an invitation, right? When Christ opens his arms on the cross, he does so for our salvation, but not without expecting from us some sort of response or return, or even a mysterious association of ourselves with him in his very act of redeeming the world. He goes on to say, in the cross of Christ, not only is the redemption accomplished through suffering, but also human suffering itself has been redeemed. He goes on to say, human suffering has reached its culmination in the Passion of Christ, and at the same time it has entered into a completely new dimension and a new order. It has been linked to love. So what we see in Christ is not simply, a kind of agonic embrace of the problem of human suffering. It's the most profound act of love. That's what saves us, right? It's love connected to the embrace of death. And Jesus makes us capable through the grace won through that action to do the very same thing, to suffer in love, and to make of it a participation in his own redeeming work. This is part of the great mystery. It's not as though we're simply excused from death. Christ doesn't eliminate death. He alters death. He transforms it in grace so that it becomes a means by which we come to be fully conformed to his own act of love. And when death is undergone in that fashion, it's a very beautiful thing. The ugliness of death is transformed into a beautiful gift. And that's the paradoxical beauty of death in Christ. Christ on the cross, it does not conform to any of the traditional canons of aesthetic beauty. As a matter of fact, many artists have rendered him, in almost a grotesque fashion on the cross, and I'm sure to have witnessed that, it would have struck us that way as a grotesque and tragic thing. But recognizing its fruit, the fruit of the tree of life, which is the cross, new cross, recognizing its fruit, the fruit of that tree, we recognize the tree for what it is, right? Jesus says so. We recognize the tree by its fruit. The new tree of life is the cross, and its fruit is the very gift of the divine love which Christ makes to us through his bodily death. And that changes everything.